I wanted to come on today and talk a little bit about the storm. I feel like there's a story there, and I lived through it, so I feel like I can talk about it in a way that, like, the national news that I heard we got on. I haven't seen any of the stories, so if you guys have links to any of the articles that may have gotten out, link them in the comments down below. I'd love to see what was being said. Um, Probably should have done a little bit of research about what was being said before I started this, but wanted to make sure that I was here to say something about it while it was fresh on my mind and I have the energy to talk about it. I started Saturday knowing that I wasn't going into work. The ice was already starting to build up on the roads, and with us having to drive 45 minutes to work every morning on average, it was just not something I was comfortable doing. Mr. Barry was not comfortable doing. I already woke up with a headache anyway, so it just behooved us to use some personal time and take the day off. Um, didn't think anything of it. I went about my day. I had a home spa day. I did a little bit of cooking. We picked up my oldest son for his overnight for the weekend. No big deal. I mean, it was not nice out, but it wasn't like nasty. It was a northern Michigan snowstorm. No big deal. Um, then he went out dashing. Mr. Barry did. And my oldest and I were here hanging out. He was playing a game or watching a movie or something. I can't remember. But uh, he was on the TV, and I was prepping dinner, and the power flickered. I started texting Mr. Barry and calling him, and he's telling me that, and this was after we'd been watching the shorts that I posted of the trees waving and bending. We'd been watching that all day and listening to them crack and fall. And he was texting me throughout. He's like, it's getting nasty out here. He's telling me about tree lines falling across, or trees falling across roads that he needs to go, and seeing them hitting power lines already and things like that. And okay, that's pretty nasty, but it's still not a concern yet. 8 o'clock rolls around, and I'm getting ready to go through my night routine. Wash my makeup off, get things set. I needed to transfer, start laundry and dishwasher loaded and all that fun stuff that I do in the evening. And I stand up and I tell my son, I'm like, I'm gonna go fill the bathtub with water just in case we lose power, and then I'm gonna go to bed. Okay, have a good night, whatever. And as I'm standing up, the power went out. Now, mind you, this was Saturday. Trying to remember the date, but it was Saturday. Power went out about 8 to 8:05 p.m. Oh, shoot, I missed my opportunity to fill the tub. No big deal. The power being out right before bed, we just snuggled up and we're like, we'll deal with it in the morning, you know? And it took a little bit for the whole complex to go out. First 40 minutes, the outlet right behind me here under the window, that worked. So I was able to charge my phone up from nearly dead. And I got it just shy of dying. So I knew at least I would have my phone in the morning to check in with everyone while we figured out what was going on, just in case the power didn't come back. So we get through the night, we wake up in the morning, still no power. Well, shoot. Now we're trying to figure out what the extent of the damage is. And we decided, my ex is texting me, telling me they don't have power, that, he doesn't have a restoration time. At this point, I had gotten an email from the apartment complex that said, hey, we're aware of the outage. Consumers has been made aware. They're working on it. Restoration time is 8:30 a.m. tomorrow, or 11:45 a.m. Sunday. So we're into Sunday. Power restoration was supposed to be same day. All right, fine. So we just have to get through till noon. I'm a little bummed because I had a planned breakfast. I had planned everything. I was ready to roll. Knew how I wanted to do this. and it just went downhill. So I was a little ornery. I couldn't have coffee. I couldn't have the baked oatmeal that I had planned to make. I started to have a neuro spicy meltdown, is what I was calling it. My whole day just went up in smoke. And I was struggling to cope, but I came back upstairs from charging my phone in the car, touched base with everyone about an ETR, and I heard Meyer was open, or no, I didn't hear Meyer was open at that point. Mr. Barry still wanted to go out and try and dash. He's like, with the storm and everything, people aren't going to want to go out. I'll make really good money with dashing because I can go out and I can, do this for people. Plus, then none of us had to be home while they were fixing the power. It was a win-win. He went to go get gas while Connor and I started getting dressed and ready for the day. When he came back, he made the comment that there were 2 gas stations open in the entire town. He came back and told us there were trees down and halfway across the road throughout town. There was no power anywhere. There were lines down half a block out these gas stations. Police barricades keeping anyone from getting in and out of town. I mean, it was a war zone. And at this point, the rain was still coming down. The ice was still coming down. The temperatures were still dropping. And so he waited in line for 40 minutes for gas, filled up his tank, waited in line for 40 minutes to get us some hot coffee, and came back. And I think he was the one that heard, he was, from a neighbor, that Meyer had power, that the the grocery store we go to had power. So we loaded up, the 3 of us, and went over there. And at this point, I didn't know how the city water grid worked, so I didn't know that we had running water here at the apartment. I didn't find that out until the following day, on Monday. So on Sunday, at this point, it's about 10:30 a.m., I told my ex, hey, we found somewhere that's warm, somewhere with power, somewhere with running water. If you want to bring the kids and come get something to eat with us. He couldn't get out of his place either. By that point, a tree had fallen across his driveway, and the line to both his house and his mother's house had fallen, and they didn't have power. So he said, look, I cannot get out of my property. I'm going to hang out here. But here's some grocery money, feed you and the boy. Okay, cool. So we bought our sandwich supplies. We used the bathroom. We charged our phones in the car for a while. When we came back, I had gotten Uno, so we had something to do that we didn't have to spend hours explaining to the child how to play. So we get back, and one of our D&D friends was heading back into our building to hang out with our neighbors who we also play D&D with. And we're like, hey, we bought Uno. Do you guys want to play? And we hung out with them for a few hours. We played Uno. We played New Phone Who Dis. We chatted and had a really good time. I mean, it was nice to have people to socialize with. By this time, the estimated restoration time for power had been bumped up to, I think it was 7 a.m. Monday morning. Well, shoot, nobody wanted to deal with that, but it is what it is. We can't rush it. We were still getting reports about the extent of the damage, and the rain was still coming down. I don't think it stopped raining until Monday, I want to say Monday afternoon. Mix of rain and snow. Trees were still falling until probably Tuesday morning. It was terrifying, honestly, because if we went out, the whole time we went through this, anytime we left the building, there was no telling what was coming down, where it was coming down from with any more than like a few seconds notice. Mr. Barry actually watched the tree across the road from our property come down onto the line. He said it was something. So I know I shared video clips and pictures of the damage of the falling trees, and what I showed did not do justice to the actual extent of the damage that our town suffered. So it's now Sunday evening. The days all melded together. I'm texting my boss. They lost power on Sunday at work, and he texted and said, hey, I don't know when they'll have it back up, but here's the plan and I'll keep you posted. Okay. So Monday morning, I texted him before I even got out of bed, and I'm scrolling I never go on Facebook, but I'm scrolling Facebook just looking for updates from everyone because there's people that I still haven't heard from. And I'm texting all my closest friends and just, hey, how's everyone doing? Does anyone have power? What's the status? Any injuries? I need to know everyone's okay. So I'm touching base with everyone. Store's still closed. No ETR on power, nothing. And so in scrolling through Facebook, I found out that the church near us had generators and they were putting up an emergency shelter. They had hot food and they had electricity and they had Wi-Fi and they had showers. And I told Mr. Barry and I told my oldest, I'm like, hey, because he's still with us at this point. If his dad can't get out, we can't get in, and we're not leaving town with the police barricades to take him to Wolverine. So I tell them, I said, hey, get your stuff together. We're going to go at least take advantage of charging our phones and the showers. So we get there just in time for lunch. We're hanging out with our neighbors. We're hanging out with other people in the community. And my oldest jumped at every opportunity to volunteer. They needed more tables and chairs set up. He was on it, back in storage, getting chairs and running them to the gym to set them up. He was out at the vehicles, bringing in groceries for the next meal. He was helping to clean up and keep the littles entertained and, organizing games in the youth group room and just all kinds of stuff. I couldn't be more proud of him. He really stepped up through all of this. Tuesday rolls around. By Monday around lunchtime, I think it was, we got a 9 p.m. restoration time. Still annoying, but hey, we could have power today. Yay. That 9 p.m. rolls around. About 8:58. I got a text saying 9 a.m. on Tuesday. Okay. So 9 a.m. on Tuesday rolls around. I'm waiting it out. And at 8:40 something, I got another text that it was again 9 p.m. on that day. And I broke down. That was one of those breaking points. I could not handle much more of this cold. I don't like waking up cold. My apartment overnight is set at 65 degrees, which is cool, but not cold. So waking up to an apartment that was 48 degrees, roughly, I did not like crawling out from under the blankets and seeing my breath. There was not enough layers I could get on me in the morning. And so I broke down. Between that and not having coffee as soon as I woke up, I know that's not good for me, but it's my morning routine. I wake up, I go to the bathroom, I do my weigh-in, and then I start coffee. And I hadn't been able to do that. Going on, what is that? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. This will be the third day. So Tuesday morning, we went back to the E-Free shelter. We charged our electronics. I sat in the corner and I journaled. And I was in touch with my ex to kind of make a plan. Tuesday was kind of it felt like the eye of the storm. Because Tuesday ended up being warm-ish. Warmer than it had been. It was sunny. It was beautiful. The weather radar was showing more weather coming in. And this time it was supposed to be a heavy, wet spring snow. So while everyone is slowly watching the power grid light back up and everyone's seeing downtown coming back to life, we're all holding our breath because there's more weather incoming. and everyone was convinced it was going to completely undo all the work that had been done. And we had people coming from other states. I was hearing Washington State, I was hearing Tennessee, I was hearing West Virginia, Indiana, Ohio. Like everyone was sending help here to Michigan. And it was heartwarming to see people come together that way. It was terrifying to live through, but it was eye-opening to see how natural disasters like this can bring out the best in people. Because it was nice out, we did kind of a tentative drive. In driving out to the shelter for lunch, we kind of like paid attention to, you can see through downtown from the entry to our apartment complex. So we kind of looked down to see what kind of activity was happening downtown. And we went and we had lunch. And then after lunch, we ran over to the grocery store to pick up some supplies for my ex, and we were able to get safely from Gaylord over to Wolverine. And the only thing is that I had us park at the top of the driveway to the property because the line was right across the driveway. There was no way to safely cross the driveway. And with the puddles forming and everything, I don't know if this line is live. I don't know what it could still be connected to. I don't know the status of anything. And with it being as warm as it was that day and the sun beating directly down on everything, it was just warm enough to create like slush puddles in the driveway. And I didn't want to risk anything. So dropped off the kid, dropped off the supplies, checked in with everyone. I spent about half an hour there just touching base. He still didn't have a restoration time. He had all 5 kids in that house, and I didn't have power, so it didn't make sense for me to offer to take anyone because they'd be just as miserable with me. So we came back, and by then our complex had gotten a generator for the community center. So we hung out there with everyone. We had dinner. The maintenance crew was absolutely phenomenal. Our one maintenance guy, his girlfriend, went and picked up a ton of burger. So we had a cookout with everyone. We played more games with everyone. We got to know our neighbors a bit better. It was nice socializing with everyone and really coming together in that way. And just seeing how everyone in this time was just being so positive. There were smiles and there was laughter and there was, storytelling and chatting and exchanging information in a way that really was it was community building. And it was so fascinating to watch everyone come together in this way. And we got another pushed out restoration time for another 24 hours, another 9 p.m. on Wednesday. So at this point, it was like just not when will the power come on, but what is the next restoration estimate? We weren't even watching for the power at this point. We were just watching for that new update on when it might be back. So we got home that night. We went to bed with a quick text to work that, hey, we still don't have power. I don't know what's going on over there, but we still won't be in. Still no power at work. Now we're on to Wednesday, and we wake up to the snow falling, more rain, more ice, just sheets of it clinging to everything. Almost worse than the initial ice storm that took everything out. And branches are falling almost as quickly as crews are clearing them away. I don't remember if we went to the shelter that day or not. I know we started the day at the community center. We went down there and we had coffee. I chatted with the maintenance folks for a little bit. I know we wound up over at the grocery store again, and they were very kind. They had an emergency supply truck that they brought out. They were giving out water and snack food and just a pulling together to show the community the support that the company was offering. And it was wonderful. I need to watch my posture when I'm doing this. After dropping off, we had gotten a fruit and veggie tray and we'd gotten water and we'd gotten some things to just kind of help make that evening's meal a little more nutritious, a little more offering for people other than just chips and beef. So we dropped that off and we came home and did a deep clean of the apartment. Still no power, and so we just cleaned everything out of the fridge while it was cold enough in the apartment that we could bag it up without it starting to permeate the house with that stench. Got that done, got that cleaned up. We rearranged the furniture in the living room, which has really opened up that space. I'm actually very happy about that. I think that and getting the fridge deep cleaned were the most productive things we did through that whole ordeal. Still chatting with my boss, still letting people know that we're okay, making sure that everyone else is okay. And I think it was about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, my boss calls me and says, "Hey, we got power back at the store." Awesome. He said, "Can you guys come in for a shift tomorrow?" He's like, "I understand if you can't. People are still waiting for power to come back. It's still technically not safe to drive, but can you come in?" I said, "Let me call you back." So we talked about it, and it was like, well, it's either that or we sit at home in the dark because power's not supposed to be on until 9 p.m. Thursday night now. We go to work, like, on Thursday. So now we're on Thursday. I tried to do my morning routine on Thursday morning the best I could, but we ended up leaving early enough to hit up the gas station for coffee and gas and breakfast because it was just easier than hanging out here at the house. There was no point. Once we were dressed, it was warmer to get in the car and drive over where there was power. At lunch break on Thursday, I got the notification that we had power back. I was so excited. I was bawling my eyes out. I was sitting there in the break room with Mr. Barry sitting next to me and just sobbing because I was so excited to have power back. We got home that evening and took hot showers for the first time in almost a week. We did a load of laundry. We had a dinner that we made at home, and it was so nice to feel the weight of all of that lifted and know that we had made it through. A little worse for the wear, but we had made it through. Following morning, Friday morning, I get up the way I always do. I start going through my morning routine. I started a pot of coffee. I was coming back towards the bedroom to get dressed. This was about 4:30 a.m. and the power went back up. I had actively just heard the coffee pot start dripping and the power went out. And I've been checking my email to see if I got a noise complaint because I about hit my knees and I was just screaming, "No, no, 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 I can't do this anymore. I am done. I can't handle it." And I had a full mental breakdown again. Just lost it. I went ahead and lit a candle so I could see what I was doing. I wrote down my 3 things I was grateful for, and that was all I could get out into my journal that day. And I just kind of fumbled my way through it. Well, as soon as it went out, I went onto the website for our electric company and I reported the outage. I'm like, I'm not messing with this. They're going to know right now, so they can get on this right now. They've already repaired our section of the grid, obviously, so they're going to fix whatever happened. Or I'm going to get a notification that they're fixing something else and they'll turn it back on when they're done, because that was happening too. Thankfully, by the time we got home from work that night, we had power again. It was fine. Everything worked out. But I did not realize just how deeply that had affected me until Saturday morning. I did not realize that this was genuinely PTSD until Saturday morning. I only turn on one light in the morning out in the kitchen. It's the under the cabinet light. It's just dim enough to not blind me. It's just bright enough to be able to make coffee, breakfast, whatever I need to do. That was the only light I turned on. I was sitting there with my coffee, I was journaling, I was reveling in the fact that it was a normal morning routine for the first time in a week. And when Mr. Barry came out to start getting himself ready and start packing the lunch and make breakfast, he was searching for, because he doesn't turn the lights on as often as I do, so I've mastered the switches, he has not. He went to turn on the light for the big overhead light so he could see what he was doing, hit the switch for the under the cabinet lights, and plunged the entire apartment into black. And I jumped up out of the armchair so fast and started having a panic attack. It was terrible. So after that experience, I'm definitely grateful that things have been back to normal. Our work was very kind and sent relief packages. So we got like tarps to cover damage, we got rope, we got bungee cords and first aid kits and meal kits that kind of like, they're really cool. They're like MREs that kind of warm themselves, so you don't need a microwave, you don't need a stovetop, you don't need anything. But like they provided all of this amazing stuff to help us survive the rest of this. And we've just been trying to do our part to make sure it gets to people in need throughout the community. So I want to, I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful to work for a company that actually takes care of its employees when they didn't have to. It should be expected, but it never really is. And to have that experience and to have that kind of support from people who don't know you was phenomenal. All that being said, it was another 3 or 4 days before my ex got power back for him and the kids. And life is finally going back to normal. The kids went back to school today, finally. They've been getting back on a regular sleep schedule because I've been able to set alarms. I've been able to let them have their movie after dinner before we wind down for the night. And it's just been nice to have things shift back to expectations. And it was really eye-opening to realize just how much my life depended on electricity, depended on Wi-Fi, depended on having information at my fingertips. Because even the cell service for that period was down around here. You couldn't connect to anything. My phone primarily runs on 5G and Wi-Fi. I had 4G and a single bar of service at the best of times through the majority of that. And so if I couldn't get to the E-Free where there was Wi-Fi, I didn't know what was happening to anyone else. It was taking hours for even a text message to make it out. But we are very fortunate to live in the times that we do, and very fortunate to have the connections that we do. And I'm very excited to say that a lot of good has come out of that, and I feel like we've connected more with our community. We've connected more with each other. And we realize that it really does behoove us to have an emergency kit, because you never know. You never know when something like this is going to hit you. And next time I'd rather be more prepared. So I don't want to call myself a prepper, but I definitely feel like there's some lessons that came out of this that are going to lead to being more ready to experience it in the future, should it ever happen again. This is, I think, a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. I hope it's a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. And I feel like I've got so much under my belt now. We talk about easy times. We've gone through a pandemic, and now we've gone through a natural disaster. And I don't know. I'm still working on what I want to take away from this. But I hope to be a better person and more active in my community so that should this ever happen again, I know I've already set the foundation of that. So all that being said, and my phone memory running out from these ramblings, I'll close out, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, wipe down your gym equipment, and don't forget your aftercare. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.